Have you gotten any feedback from anybody, like friends of yours or anything like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as like podcasts and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
like from the episodes you've been at or the clips or
Um,
something or what?
well, I mean, they just enjoy like my conversations and
Nice.
just depending on the topic, like they've asked like you should have talked about that more. I wanted to listen to that more,
Oh,
stuff
really?
like that.
Like,
Yeah.
for instance, what in specific?
A lot of it was with like the grief, like when I was talking about like my mom passing and stuff.
Yeah.
And then another one was like motherhood and like how our life, body, everything changes and stuff. So
Do you feel like, I mean, I feel like you never really get over it, but you feel like it's something that you've already grieved and kind of got over your mom's passing, or do you catch yourself still feeling sad?
it's so funny because recently my grandma got sick. So when my mom passed, it's almost been 3 years. So I felt okay. I felt like good. I was so busy being a mom and a wife that I'm just like, oh, like, it
Yeah.
kind of, you live your day to day life and you don't really think about it as much as you did in the beginning. And it starts to hurt a little less, I feel like. For me, it did.
Yeah.
But recently, my grandma got sick and I went to go see her. And oh my God, like just being in the face of someone who was sick just brought me right back to a place where I was like, wow, I'm
Yeah.
not over it. I started to cry like a little girl. And it was like nothing bad. I just walked in the room and
Yeah.
I felt it. I felt the same thing I felt when I walked into my mom's room. And I was like, oh my God, like it's happening. Like I wanted to compose myself because it was like a personal thing for me. It wasn't, and there was other people in the room and I'm like, oh my God, like they're going to think something's wrong,
Right.
And I was trying to compose myself, but I couldn't. I was like, I'll be right back. And I went outside and I was just crying. And my boyfriend was like, what is wrong? Like, she's okay. And I'm like, I know she's fine. It's just that feeling that, and no one will understand it unless you've been through it.
Yeah.
But when you walk in a room and, you see your loved one so sick and you just know it's coming and you think you're over it, but then you're faced with it again and you're just like, I'm not over it. It brings you right back to that moment that you thought you were over,
Right.
And so, yeah, my day-to-day life, I think I'm over it, but then certain moments just trigger it all over again and you're like, fuck, I'm not over it, Like it's still there and it's always going to be there.
Yeah.
Because I think in 20 years from now, God forbid something happens, to any one of my loved ones, it'll take me right back to that moment that grief hit my door,
Yeah. And what do you think it's what makes us sad of, like you said, walking into that room and then you feeling all those different emotions? What do you think it is?
I just think it's that grief that is always within us that we just suppress because we go to work, we are with our significant other, we're with our children, and, we live day to day and we rarely have a silent moment to ourselves nowadays. So I feel like when you are put back in those situations, you're like, wow, like it's here, like it's happening, like it's still in me or it's still happening to me.
Yeah.
I just don't realize it because I'm not faced with it every day.
Right. And when you were saying that, it just kind of reminded me of that's when you realize, like, fuck, like time is really passing by.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then a lot of those times, I don't know if you felt that, right? But at times I feel guilt for not spending quality time with loved ones, with friends, things like that, or people that really matter to you, to your life. And then you're like, fuck, man, I should have like called or paid more attention to them. I should have came to visit them more often.
Yeah.
For instance, my dad, right? Even though he lived in Sinaloa, but the flight was only an hour and 30 minutes, like I could have like literally been there like every weekend if I really wanted to,
Right.
But yeah, it's just one of those things that I don't know if it's ever happened to you, but at times when, like, let's say if I'm in the garage, right, and I'm going through a hard week, right? And I'm just either I'm working out or whatnot, and then next thing you know, I just like start thinking of my dad, and I just start crying out of nowhere, just by myself. But I just start grieving, like I just start crying. It's just because all those memories. At times, I'm like, fuck, I want to call my dad to share this news with him, you know. But then I'm like, fuck, I can't, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's.
I think, and no one's going to understand it unless you've lost a parent, but when you lose a parent,
Yeah.
your whole world changes. Your dynamic changes, your point of view, the way you look at life, everything changes. At least for me, it did.
Yeah.
Because those are the people that brought you into this world, you know, and then now one of them is gone. And it's like you lose a part of yourself, you reinvent yourself. And I don't know, that pain is something else. I always tell my boyfriend, he mourns the death of a loved one. And I always feel bad because I'm like, you don't even know what it's going to feel like the day you lose your mom.
Yeah.
And I hate to have to compare it, but he gets so like emotional about that loss, and I understand him, and I'm there for him, but I'm like, dude, the loss of your mom is going to rock your world. Like, it's going to rock your world the way nothing else has. And he's like, but I've already dealt with it. Like, I've already dealt with loss. Like, I don't think it's going to be the same thing.
Yeah.
Because a loss is a loss. And I'm like, no, the loss of a parent is different. Yeah. It's different because if you have a good relationship with them, I'll say, because, you know, everybody's situation is different, but I was really close to my mom and I had a great relationship with her. And so in my personal opinion, I feel like when you have a stable relationship with them, it's just a different pain. Like, I just can't even describe it.
Yeah, you guys were like best friends.
Yeah, and it's like you can't like ever get over it. Like you said, it's like you'll be in the like for me, you just said you were in the gym sometimes and you just think of him and you just burst out crying because you miss him and you wish you could tell him. Same thing with me. It's like sometimes I'm cooking and I'm like, what was the next step? And it's like, fuck, like I can't call her and ask her, you know? Or when people talk about their moms, it triggers me so much. And that's a problem within that, you know, I should work on with myself. But it bothers me. It irks me when people are like, oh, my mom's going to babysit my kids this weekend. Like, let's go out. And I'm like, I don't have that. Yeah. You know, like, oh, my mom's going to cook for me and my husband. We're all just going to go over there. I don't have to cook dinner tonight. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't have that. Yeah. And it irritates me. I'm just like, ugh, like, why do I have to deal with this, you know? So, and I have to deal with that forever. It's never going to go away. Yeah. You know? Man. So sorry.
No, go ahead.
I really think we just learn to live with it. Yeah. We learn to live with it. We learn to suppress it and just think positive, really, you know?
Yeah. And that pain comes and goes. Yeah. Just randomly.
Yeah. And when they first pass, that pain is like every day, you know? It's like every day they're not here, they're dead, they're this, you were that. Like, that grief is just knocking at your door every second. Yeah. And then a month and 2 months and a year and 2 years. Yeah. And then the grief kind of comes and goes, you know? It only knocks every month. Yeah. Maybe. And then eventually every 3 months, every 6 months, you know? Yeah. So for me, what really, and I didn't know this, what really triggers me is like sick people or hospitals or because I dealt with a lot of that. So I hate hospitals. I hate seeing someone like sick, like very sick, you know, not like a cold sick, like very sick. And I didn't know that because I hadn't seen anyone sick. Yeah. But then you see and you're like, oh, no. Like, this is not, like, I can't do this. I can't. I'm sorry. I can't.
Yeah. For me, that kind of scares me, knowing that all of us at one point, knock on wood, right? Yeah. Not anytime soon, right? But it scares me in a sense that, fuck, we're all going to be in that position at one point.
Yeah.
being in the hospital, just seeing people that have like those tubes going into their mouth. It almost brings anxiety, because I'm like, what if those people are conscious and just having something like a tube going down into your like mouth and down into your stomach. Like, what if it's like really, really uncomfortable, but they can't move or say anything? Just like, oh
They're
man,
just numbing
yeah,
you.
yeah, it's just scary. And then like all those different things that a lot of the times we don't even prepare ourselves, right? But you should be having like, your, I guess I'm not sure what the correct term is, but your desires, like if this and this happens, they're okay to like pull pretty much the trigger, right? To disconnect me. Things like that. Like, I know it's tough conversations, but I think people should be having them.
100%. When my mom got sick, she told us, she's
oh,
like,
really?
I don't want to be tied to a bed. I don't want to be tied to machines. Like, I want to go whenever it's my time and just give me medicine so that I'm not in pain. And, whatever it is, it is.
Yeah.
And that's also a hard decision.
Yeah.
Because what if this machine would have saved you?
Yeah.
What if this machine would have given us 2 more months?
Right. Yeah.
And it's life. It's their life decisions that we have to respect, because that's what the person wants, And now that I look back, I almost regret some of the things we like chemo and radiation, like some treatments that we decided to try, because I'm like, she still passed away. Were they worth the pain?
Yeah.
Were they worth the heartache?
Right.
It's like, if she had those 3 months of life left, why did we put her through that?
Right.
Instead of having her go live her best life and do awesome things that she wanted to do, you know? Instead, she tried and fought, and it still didn't work.
You know what? I've thought about all of that too, because my dad, he also had to go through chemo and those type of treatments. But then I'm like, fuck, what if we would have done something different, right? Like natural remedies, or like it's plant medicine, things like that, because
stem cells.
So many different things. Because I mean, so many different stories come and go of people saying that chemo itself, it's what hurts you. It's poison to the body, and it's supposed to cure you, but in reality it doesn't. So,
which is like a whole nother topic, because it's like they're just like money makers. It's like, we want to keep you sick to keep grabbing onto the coins, but it's like, that's a whole nother subject. But it's true. It's like, it's a bunch of what ifs, and I think that has to do with grief, that we're always living with the what if we would have given you another treatment, you would have lasted longer, or what if we wouldn't have done anything and you would have lived a more peaceful life. But then what if that peaceful life would have only lasted 2 days?
You just never know.
You don't know, So I'm a firm believer in just respecting what that person wants, respecting God's wishes, and just doing our best for that person. I think as long as that person's not in pain, is not suffering, then that's the best we can do,
Have you experienced anything else supernatural, or any dreams or anything like that?
No, I haven't. I talk to my brother a lot, and we're always like, have you dreamt with my mom, or like, have you this? And he's like, no, I haven't. I was like, I haven't either. Like, no dreams, no nothing. I also believe like their souls kind of linger once they pass. And so
in the beginning stages, right?
I feel like their soul lingers around I don't know. That's just my belief. I feel like their soul lingers, and then they actually transcend into, heaven is what I believe. But, which is why I feel like I used to feel her so much. I used to see her so much. I used to dream about her so much, because in the beginning it was so much. Like, the dreams were a lot. Like, I would see her everywhere. And then it slowly went away.
Yeah. I think for me, and I'm not sure if it's pure coincidence, but there's been 2 videos that it's kind of documented that when I was at my dad's grave, right, and everybody was kind of giving their speech, and like saying things of like experiences with my dad, right? It finally got to my point for me to say something, and then I finally said something about like, oh, I just want to make my dad proud or whatnot, and I finished my sentence, and a balloon popped, and everybody got scared, right? As soon as I said like, I just want to make my dad proud, and balloon popped, everybody's like, oh shit, oh there you go, he just answered back or something like that, right? And then next thing you know, here for the baby shower, same thing. We were all going around the table just saying something about like us expecting the baby to get here. And I said something along the lines that everything that I'm currently doing is for the future of my baby. As soon as I finished saying that, a balloon popped. I don't know if it's a pure coincidence.
Yeah.
But I think,
what are the odds?
Yeah, the odds are freaking crazy. I'm like, whoa, I'm not sure if that's a message or whatnot, but it was, and I have it documented both times.
Yeah. I think, I don't know, because I do that too. I try to find her in everything, you know?
Yeah.
And so sometimes I'm like, maybe it was just a coincidence. Like, why do I have to like try to force something? But then I'm like, maybe it is happening, you know? Like, we don't know. Right. We don't know. And it's, I think, like, ¿cómo se dice? Nuestro consuelo.
Yeah.
Like, our comfort is feeling that was them. And if you accept that message as what you interpret it as, then that's what it'll be for me.
Right.
Because that happens to me a lot too. Where it's just like small instances that I'm just like, I know that was my mom.
Yeah.
And it's like, maybe it was a coincidence, maybe it wasn't, but it makes me feel better. So it wasn't a coincidence. That was my mom.
Yeah. Do you have any of those or no?
Just like random. So it was just my birthday and I went to her grave just to like spend a couple minutes of my birthday with her. And I was leaving and I went to the grocery store to just grab a couple things, and this lady was like looking at me and she's like, ¿No traes a tus bebés? I always go to the same store. She's like, ¿No traes, in Spanish, she's like, ¿No traes a tus bebés a hoy? And I was like, no, I was like, ando sola. And she's like, ay, siempre te miro, dice, están bien bonitos. But like her energy, like her vibe, I was just like, her eyes, like the way she was looking at me, I'm just like, it's almost like when you're mesmerized with someone. Like, I couldn't stop staring at her. It was so weird. And I was like, stop. Like, you're being weird, you know? Like, I thought I was being weird. And I was like, oh, sí, gracias, whatever. It was a small little talk. But I just felt something, you know? So I'm, like, looking for her. I couldn't find her.
Oh, what the heck?
I couldn't find her. And I'm like, I just saw her right here. Like, where is she? And there was this little sweet Mexican, like, old lady. And I was just like, I don't know. Like, oh, before she left, she's like, te cuidas. And she just, like, rubbed my shoulder and walked away. And I was like, oh, gracias. And I was like, where is she? Like, I couldn't find her. And I'm just like, I don't know. Like you said, it's like she could have checked out, gone to her car and gone home, you know? Or it could have been that was my mom sending me a message.
But you've seen this lady before?
I've never seen her before, but she knew me and she knew I had twins. And it's like, yes, I go to the same grocery store, but I'm like, what are the odds of you always being here when I'm here? You don't work here.
And you've never seen her?
No, I had never seen her.
That's weird.
So weird.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Huh, I thought he had seen this lady before and just the way that she saw or
the way
talked
she
to
approached me, was so like familiar, like, hola, ¿cómo estás? And I'm like, oh, bien, you know, I'm like a familiar like conversation, and I never seen her.
Wow.
And I was like, okay.
Well, no wonder you feel like that of, you know, like doubting, not doubting yourself, but contemplating whether if it was a message from your mom or not, you know?
Yeah. And there's been instances like that. My mom loves the casino, or she loved the casino. And sometimes I'll go and Same thing, like ladies that knew her stuff, because they knew her.
Yeah.
They'd be like, "Ay," at the beginning they'd ask me like, "Ay, tu mamá," and I'd be like, "Oh, falleció." "Ay, I'm so sorry." So now that I go and they know, they're like, "Mija, cuídate, échale ganas, y esto y que el otro," and they just tell me like really nice, positive things, and I'm just like, it makes you feel like warm inside, you know?
Right.
And I'm just like, I'd like to think that's my mom telling me things.
Yeah. Well, what scares you about death when you think about death?
You know, I used to not be scared of dying because I'm like, I don't care if I die until I had kids. Because it's like, you know, I was single, like no one depends on me. It's just what's going to happen if I die. Yeah, people are going to be sad, but I'm not going to make an impact on anyone's life. Everyone will continue to live.
Exactly.
And now it's like, well, who's going to take care of my kids?
Yeah.
I don't have sisters. I don't have a mom. So
yeah,
for me now, it's like, no, like now it's scary for me because I'm like, I have something to live for, you know, I can't leave my kids without their needs. At least not yet. They're too little.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because my mom would say the same thing. My mom got diagnosed with breast cancer when I think I was 8. And she would say the same thing, like, mi niña está muy chiquita para quedarse sola. Like, Dios mío, por favor, déjame vida hasta que ella se valga por sí misma. Like, hasta que ella se pueda defender, decía. I turned 28, and apparently that was when I could defend myself. I'm just kidding. But yeah, she used to say that. She's like, I can't leave my daughter like desamparada, you know, like está muy chiquita. And it's true. I mean, at the time I didn't realize it, but now that I'm older, now that I'm a mom, I'm like, fuck, dude, like there's just no way.
Yeah.
Like these people depend on you, you know?
Right.
Yeah. These kids, like they're kids, like no, there's no one to protect them but you.
Yeah.
And yes, maybe their grandparents can, maybe their aunts and uncles, and you know, it takes a village to raise a kid, but there's absolutely no one that will care for your kid like you.
Yeah.
There's no one. So, yeah, I wasn't scared of death until I became a mom.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And you know what? I hadn't really thought about it like that because I'm a brand new dad, but that's a good point.
Yeah.
For me, it used to be like completing my goals and things like that. Like, oh, like I have my lifetime to achieve my goals. But then you said a few things that also caught my attention, right? That when you pass away, nobody really cares, right? Like nobody's really going to care like your kids would care for you or whatnot. Yeah. So that's another motivation for me just to kind of continue doing my own thing, my own path, whether I fail at certain goals or whatnot. Like at the end of the day, time is going to pass by and nobody's going to give a crap, you know?
No one cares if you lost the 20 pounds. No one cares if you, you know, made your overnight oats for 5 days a week. Like, it's like we set these goals for ourselves, but it's like these goals don't matter, you know? Like one day we'll be gone and all people are going to remember us for is how kind we were, how we treated them. Like, ay, ese vato era bien culero.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if he died or, ay, no, esa persona era bien buena. ¿Cómo pudo pasar eso?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's like in social media, there's so many like breaking news happening day in, day out. It's hot like for a couple of days, maybe a week, and the next thing that's it. And now the way that everything is passed by super, super fast, now imagine when we pass. Yeah. Nobody's really going to care, you know?
No one.
And do you ever think about this, right? Because this, when I came across this, it kind of motivated me to continue doing my thing and to like, you know, documenting a lot of my story, documenting like whether it's doing vlogs, whether it's doing podcasts, right? But let's give this perspective. Do you have a lot of videos of your mom?
I do. I mean, not like vlog style and that quantity, but again, my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer when I was 8. So I knew what was coming at a very young age.
That's super young. I didn't know it was that early.
Yeah, she got diagnosed when I was 8, and then she entered remission when I was 12. And then she was good for 5 years. And then she got sick again when I was 17, 18. And then she went through treatment, same thing. She went into remission. She was good for 5 years. And then she got diagnosed again when I was 25. So I knew what was coming at a young age. So I tried to document a lot of stuff. My mom left me a lot of letters. She left me a letter for when I became a mom. She left me a letter for when I got married.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So we knew.
Wow.
We knew. So a part of it, sorry.
No, you're fine.
So a part of it was because of that, but not everybody's situation is like mine, you know? But I tried to take pictures and videos, and we wrote each other letters and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's exactly why I was mentioning that, right? Because now, like, having my daughter, right?
Yeah.
I think back on, like, man, I want to share my dad's personality. Like, look, that's your grandpa, you know? And that's why I'm, in a sense, I'm kind of glad I've been not only doing the podcast, doing the vlogs, but then because later down on the road, people can be like, oh, look, that's how he was. That was his personality. That's how he talked. Yeah. That's how he laughed. That's how he communicated with people. And in a sense, that's good that you have those memories, and that way, you know, your kids can get to know. Yeah, exactly.
I saw this really nice tradition on TikTok where every Christmas they would, the mom had lost her dad. And so every Christmas she would go to the cemetery, you know, to leave flowers for her dad. And once her kids were old enough, she would leave a big like bag from Santa. It was like a big red bag with a couple of toys. And she started telling her kids, like, Grandpa is in heaven with Santa, and he brings you toys every Christmas. And so these toys are from your grandpa. And every Christmas, the boys were so excited to go visit Grandpa because even though they've never met him, he would send them toys from Santa.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I know. Yeah. And I was like, I'm stealing that.
Yeah, that's
so
beautiful.
Cute. I was like, damn, that's so cute.
And,
you know?
And it keeps his memory alive.
It keeps his memory alive, and your kids will know who they are because of it. Well, why is Grandpa gone? You know, how is Grandpa? How is this? How's that? And they'll ask about him, and his memory will always stay alive, and they'll always remember during their childhood they would go get their gifts from Grandpa. You know?
That's beautiful. I like that.
Yeah.
And there was we did Chelo and myself. We did another podcast a while back, and I'm not sure if you heard about this one, right? But in her ayahuasca ceremony, when she communicated with my dad told her that, hey, I appreciate you guys doing an altar and putting my picture every single year. But he told her, I'm not the only one that has passed. There's a lot of different people. I'm not sure if this was my dad that told her or somebody from her family that communicated with her. I think it was my dad. But he said something along the lines that there's a lot of people here that have passed that are relatives to you. And since you guys are not, like, putting their pictures or lighting a candle for them, they're all kind of depending on me to share that light with them. So they remember that there's more people out there, loved ones that cared for you and are here pretty much relying on you to keeping the light on. So similar to the movie Coco, but that same message got passed through ayahuasca ceremony to Chelo.
Damn, I think about that all the time. I'm like, how many people that have passed that people just forget, you know? Yeah. Or if they don't have loved ones, like if they didn't have kids or stuff like that, you know?
Yeah.
They're not remembered.
And it's been a while now, and I haven't gone, but a friend of mine passed a couple of years back. His name is Hugo, and we were very, very close friends. He helped me out a lot. And there was a point in time of my life that I was super depressed. I was going through a breakup. And one of the key things that he helped me, right, because I would always like talk to different friends and they would give me advice like, hey, just let it go and let it go, right? But at times you don't want to hear that, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to hear that because obviously you know that you have to let it go, but you can't. No te aferras, you know, you're stubborn. You want to like make things work or whatnot. But he gave me this message that later on I'm like, fuck, I'm glad he said that, right? He said like, hey bro, you're already chasing her and you're just pushing her back. Why don't you do the opposite and stop chasing her so she wants you back, right? So I'm like, that's a good idea, like almost like reverse psychology, right? So I'm like, okay, you know what, you have a good point. So I stopped, right? I stopped reaching out. 1 day passed, 2 days passed, 3 days passed, 1 week, 2 weeks, whatnot. She never reached out. But I guess the moral of the story was that little, I guess, advice that he gave me helped me to kind of start letting her go. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I finally let go and I was like, oh, shoot, I can't live with it. You
don't even remember that she didn't reach back.
Yeah. Because in my mind, I was thinking like, you know what, I'm playing reverse psychology in her. But at the same time, I was forgetting her. Yeah. And that helped me out a lot.
Yeah.
But where I was going with this is even after he passed and even if he was a really good friend and I always showed appreciation to him, I haven't gone to his grave to like visit him. And that's bad from my end. And there was one point that I even had a dream. And even though his face didn't show up, but I knew that message was coming from him. And you know how there's like lights on the graveyard that people put like to kind of like kind of showcase where the casket is at, right?
Yeah.
And there was the lights flickering and he was saying like hello, like hey, what's up? You're not gonna come and visit me? And like it just said hello, but in my mind I knew it was him and I knew he was calling me like, hey, what's up, man? What's going on? So with that being said, I'm gonna make it a point to go, but and there goes to show you that even if he was a good friend, and I still consider myself and him good friends, right? But my day-to-day life catches up to me that I haven't even made that time to go over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think about it now, like when we pass, probably the same thing's going to happen to us.
Yeah. I think I used to go visit my mom's grave damn near every day when she first passed. Now I go maybe once every month, I think. And that's just the way it is. I think it's just that grief that you're like, again, in the beginning, it's just there. And it's funny because I've seen it. It's not funny, but you see other people go through it and you're like, it's like you're watching yourself, you know? I know someone who lost their mom and she goes to her grave every day. And I'm like, that was me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I want to tell her, like, you'll be fine. Like, one day you're only going to go once a month like me. And that doesn't mean you don't love her. That doesn't mean you don't, you know, respect her. But it just eventually gets better. But in that moment, you think it's never going to get better.
Yeah.
So I think it's just part of the grieving that
that process, right?
Yeah.
And then you feel guilty, right, at the same time for not going. But at the end of the day, is just a body now, right? And but the spirit lives on, right? That's why things like that, for example, what you were saying of like for every Christmas and things like that, I think that's a beautiful, I guess not routine, but what's the word I'm looking for?
Tradition.
Yeah, tradition, right? To continue on to have the spirit of that person to live on forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, man, I don't know how we got to this topic, but
I don't know.
Yeah, it's just, man, it's all of those things are sad. Like, for instance, I don't know if you have this or not, but where my grandma is currently buried at in Greenwood. So that terreno right there, it's for two people. Technically, it's for my grandma, which she's buried there. And then obviously when my mom passes, she's going to be there as well. But I had a friend that was currently working at Greenwood, and she mentioned, she's like, hey, I'm not trying to like sell you anything, but the only reason why I'm reaching out is there was somebody that stopped paying for their terreno, and it's only like 2 spots over. So she's like, if you want it, it's open, and you're more than welcome to take on it. If not, no worries. But I'm like, oh shoot, that's crazy. It's only 2 spots over, 2 or 3 spots over. So
and that area is all bought out.
yeah, it's all bought out. And I think at that time I got it for like 7,000. And just recently, for whatever reason, I think I was going through paperwork. And like, you know what? I don't have any documentation of, in case something happens. Like, I don't have no paperwork. And what if people, like, if they sell it or resell it?
Yeah.
Like, fuck, I don't want to go through that. So I made it a point to, like, hey, I reached out, like, hey, you know what? I'm so and so. I bought this land there, and luckily they're like, oh yeah, you're here in the documents. We have everything in our system. If you want, you can set up a date, and we'll give you everything, right? So I ended up going over there, have all my paperwork and everything. So it brought peace of mind, but you never know, man. I've heard so many different stories.
Yeah. And the Mexicans always say, like, oh, if you talk about that, if you go by that, like, le estás hablando a la muerte.
Yeah.
But, like, te vas a morir if you do that. I'm like, I know so many Mexicans that pass away with no plan, no money, no lot, no nothing. And I'm like, these are things that we need to take care of. Like, yeah, it sucks, like you said, to talk about it. It sucks to, realize that one day, we're going to have to do this. But how much easier for you to take that, like, load off your loved ones when they're going through that. Like, here's the folder, all you have to do is go show up and everything.
Right.
And it's just like, I know they say, like, oh, we shouldn't do it because of this and that, and I'm like, well, it's better to be prepared.
Yeah. And they're saying that now the cost of something similar or a piece of land, it's like 20 something thousand just for the land. Because I still owe like another 7,000 for the casket and the service and digging the hole, closing the hole, all of that. I'm like, golly, like
dying is expensive.
Yeah, it really is. So technically, I still owe for that, but part of me is just like, man, you guys can handle 7,000.
I'm gonna leave that to you guys.
Yeah, like, hey, I already took care of the hard part.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see, but yeah, luckily that friend reached out to me, and I have that spot there. But because if it wasn't for her, I don't think I would have done any of that.
Yeah, they're hard conversations to have, but it's very useful in the end.
Yeah. I supposedly heard, and I'm not sure if this is true or not, but supposedly one of my aunts, she was telling me that she had a terreno at Greenwood at the cemetery, and supposedly they sold that lot. And they're like, oh yeah, like something happened and you don't have that lot no more, so we're giving you this other one, right? Like, what the heck? So that got me like curious, and it got me worried. I'm like, nah, I need to get my freaking paperwork on.
Yeah.
And I wanted them to show me like, oh, you're here, right? And so they have like like a diagram, and they did show me everything is there. So everything's good.
Honestly, I had a horrible experience with Greenwood because my mom is buried there too. I hated it. They were just so... I just feel like they shouldn't... Maybe the people I got were just not, the best, but I didn't have a good experience with them. But same thing, that lot is for 2 people, so...
Oh, okay.
My dad would be buried there, too.
Yeah.
But no, we didn't have any experiences as far as, like, oh, like, this isn't your lot or whatever.
Right.
But you know what? They did show us a lot the first time, and they're, my mom passed, and they're like, oh, we had the folder and she had already paid for it and everything. So then it gets you thinking, like, well, are they giving us the correct lot?
Yeah.
The person's gone, so it's like,
yeah, that's true.
How does that person know that that's the lot you bought? Because the first time we went, they showed us the lot, and my mom had told me that the lot, kind of the area that it was in, and I was like, this isn't where my mom told me the lot was.
Oh, no way.
And she was like, oh, let me look. And she's like, oh, yeah, I have the wrong one. Sorry. And then she drove us to the correct one.
Oh, no way.
And she was like, oh, this is the one. And I was like, okay, well, this makes a little more sense. I don't know if this is the exact one, but
at least
it's in the vicinity of where she had told me. But even then, I don't know if it was the right one or not.
Yeah, that's crazy, right? Who knows if they were trying to do it on purpose to see if you guys were aware of that.
Right.
And then maybe the other one, it's a little bit more expensive that they can upsell.
Or they can sell it now at the price where we had bought in it. You know, my mom purchased it for $7,000 10 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
But now it's worth $30,000. So now they can resell it for that price.
Yeah, exactly. Because maybe it's a nicer area or whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy.
It's crazy. But that's a whole nother business too. You know, like dyeing is a business.
Yeah.
Like they're and they make really good money.
Yeah, like you said, just dyeing itself is just
so expensive.
Super expensive.
Yeah, it's really expensive.
Would you say that was the hardest thing with Greenwood that you guys experienced, or? Yeah,
I would say so.
Yeah, just the whole process of like getting freaking, because you have the opening and closing, and then doing the velorio and all that stuff. Yeah. Now, who took care of all that process for you guys?
Me.
Did you? Mm-hmm. Man. So you had all the pressure, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sucked, but I always tell myself, like, I did it for my mom.
Yeah.
You know, because homegirl was picky. She's like, I want this. Like, she knew what she wanted. And I was like, and I'm going to make it happen for you. So I made it a point to do that for her, but man, I look back and I'm like, I don't know how I did it. Yeah. I don't know. Like, do you think I want to be sitting here picking out a casket color?
Right,
you know?
Right.
No.
Yeah.
But luckily she had a lot of it done already. So process of dyeing is just, you know, filling out paperwork, setting up arrangements, scheduling, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it wasn't anything like too crazy. She did want like a celebration of life. So that was a little bit harder to plan because I had to.
What's a celebration of life?
It's just like a comida, like dinner after like the services and stuff to celebrate the person, their life, their legacy, stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
So after the burial, we did the celebration of life, which was, I think, the hardest thing to plan because nothing was done for. So I had to get like a salon. I had to plan like a party.
Yeah.
Like,
that's crazy.
2 weeks after my mom died.
Oh man.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's like I had to go to salones, like book them, like
ni ganas de
tour
hacer eso.
them. Like she's like, oh, ¿para qué evento es?
Yeah.
Like, my mom died.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, sí, contamos con eso servir, whatever, you know. But they're over here thinking like, oh, is it a wedding, a quinceañera? And I'm like, no.
Damn, I didn't even know that was a thing. Like to book a salon.
Well, we did it. You could do it anywhere, but we did it at salon because it was just more convenient for us. We didn't want to do it like at our house or stuff like that. So we did that. We catered food. But like, there's no music or anything like that. It's just people like remembering her, speeches of her, slideshow of her. I always tell my brother, it was like the last time we got to see our family together.
Oh, no way.
Mm-hmm. Because there's a lot of people that I never saw again.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
But you would see them before? Often?
Yeah, a lot of my mom's family.
Okay, so you would see them often because of your mom.
Right.
But after her passing, really?
Yeah.
They don't really call to check in or anything like that?
Yeah. It's like everybody left.
Yeah.
Everybody's gone. We're gone. Everybody just went their own ways, you know? And I mean, I don't think it's like any ill will. I just think it's like the missing piece of the puzzle is gone. Right. So
yeah, I was going to say that there's always at times that one person that ties everyone together, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's what happened there. I'm like, I don't think it's anything like ill will or anything, but it's just, and that's why I tell people, like, when you lose your mom, you'll see. Because when you lose a cousin, it's not the same thing as when you lose a mom. And you cannot compare the two because they're two completely different aspects in your life. They're two completely different roles in your life.
Yeah.
The mom holds the family together, you know?
Yeah.
Like I said, it's just that glue to the puzzle
Right.
that it just keeps the wheels rolling, you know?
Right.
Like, keeps everything together.
Yeah.
And then that person's gone and everything goes to shambles.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's aunts and uncles that I haven't talked to since my mom died.
Yeah. But then you also feel like that because you had a good mom, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And I totally get that because I recently also met somebody whose mom died and she didn't have a good relationship with her mom.
Mm.
And so I'm always saying, you know, like exactly how I've expressed myself today, and I don't want to be like insensitive to how she feels because she has a right to feel the way she feels, and she kind of just, she doesn't mourn her. She doesn't feel anything.
Yeah.
And that's okay too.
Right.
You know, because she didn't have a supportive mom. She didn't have a good relationship with her mom. So that's okay too. But
Yeah.
for me, it's different.
Yeah, of course.
And you know what? My friend, she didn't have a good relationship with her mom, and she passed away. And she says she feels like she grieved her more when she was alive than when she was dead.
Wow.
Because all she wanted her whole life was for her mom to be a mom.
Mm.
And she was never a mom. So when she didn't have her, it's like that yearning for her mom was gone.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like I suffer less now because
Yeah.
she's actually gone.
Yeah. Because she's not looking for that anymore.
Yeah. She's like, I don't look for the validation. I don't look for the love. I don't look for the support because it's never going to be there.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, that's a whole nother, you know, like trauma, I feel like, because it's like, it's true. You grieve the relationship. You grieve, like, I want you to be there. I want to love you. I want us to be good,
Yeah.
but we can't. And
Right.
that's just life. That's how our life were played out.
Yeah, exactly. Like, not knock on wood, right? But I've thought about that as well, right? That my mom, it's a different situation from your experience with your mom, right? But I've thought about, like, man, it's just when that happens, I think what's gonna get me the most is that I was everything to my mom, right? Like, I'm literally all she has left, right? In a sense, quote unquote, right? Maybe her own decisions or whatnot, but technically she relies for me for everything. And I feel like that's what's going to like hurt me the most. Right?
Yeah.
Like, damn, like I was literally everything she had left.
Yeah.
And I've thought about that, and it's, it's going to be a whole different feeling because I don't really have that same relationship that, like you said, maybe your mom would cook and get everyone together and things like that. I don't have that relationship with my mom. But just knowing that I'm everything to my mom, I think it's going to be a different pain.
Yeah.
But knock on wood, right? But
yeah,
it's just, man, it's regardless. I feel like it's not easy to whatever anybody's experience is.
No.
It's still hard, very hard.
Yeah, it is. Any death is so hard, and I really think that it alters your point of view, like on life, because if you asked me if I was the same person before my mom passed, I'm a completely different person.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
In what sense?
Different. I used to be a bitch. and in pocas palabras, I used to be a fucking bitch.
So you just toned it down a little? Or
yeah, only when I get mad. No, but I really used to be an angry, like, person. Like, any little thing would set me off. Yeah. Everything would upset me. If someone cut me off, if my coffee was done wrong, if whatever, you name it.
Oh, really?
It would set me off. I was just a little ticking time mom.
Yeah.
I don't know what I was so angry at, you know? Like, I was just so upset not all the time, but just like, I would get so angry and upset over the littlest things. And now I don't because it's not worth my time. It's not worth my energy.
Yeah.
What people do to me, how they treat me is not has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with them.
Right.
You know, and it's just a bunch of things that I've learned since she passed that I've evolved into this new person, because maybe it's because I don't have her. Maybe it's because I saw life in a different point of view. I don't know what it is, but everything changed for me. Everything. Like, even like the family dynamic, like the way I used to have it and now I don't, you know? And I'm just like, damn, like when I had it, I was always a bitch to everyone and like, ill, scoot over, ill, don't look at me, ill this, you know?
Really? Like that?
Yeah, era bien mamona, bien sangrona, con todos me peleaba.
Yeah.
Like everything.
Yeah. Huh.
And I just stopped. And a lot of people don't know that about me, because either they met me after my mom passed, or I don't talk to them.
Oh, okay.
Anymore.
So they have two separate perspectives of who Betty is.
Yeah, which is really interesting, because if you meet someone, you know, from this perspective and someone from that perspective, they'll be like, she's not like that, you know? Yeah. And they'll be like, yeah, she is. So...
But I think people just in general are like that, right? Because at times you will act a specific way with a certain friend or a family member. You act a different way, right?
Yeah.
It just, everybody will have, I forgot how it goes, right? But everybody is going to have
different versions of you.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I think, well, at least for me, yes, that's kind of true. But it was also like my way and like mi forma de vivir antes era muy pesimística. It was very negative. It was very like, I always saw the bad side to everything. It was just negative. That's the only way I could put it. And then I lost my mom and my whole perspective changed. Like, girl, you're over here getting mad over coffee. Like, that was the least of my worries for a whole year. You know? Yeah. If I got shitty coffee, I didn't care. I was on my way to go cry at my mom's grave. Like, I don't care if I'm crying with shitty coffee. Right. You know? Yeah. It's like, I just buried my mom. Like, do I care that you just cut me off? Like, I don't care. Like, the pain that I felt was so big to any little problem that I had. You know? Yeah. So for me, I think that was the biggest change, that I just let go of everything. Like, the way people treated me, the way people came at me, the way people talked about me, it's like, I don't care. Yeah, like, so be it. So be it. Yeah. Like, I have bigger fish to fry. Yeah. Like, so it just changed my whole dynamic, honestly. It really did.
But you don't feel like it was it was just a sudden change for you? That it was just one day to another, you're just like, what the hell am I like getting mad over?
I think it was a process, you know, like the death happens and then people start changing or people are not there for you. Yeah. Like, just like a big life event plays out, you know, and other trickling events come with that. Yeah. That kind of slowly start to change your perspective. Right. So I think within, like, I don't want to say like 1 minute to another I became this chipper person. No, but I think within a year or two, I completely evolved into this new version, I would like to say.
I would love to hear your story if you ever go to do ayahuasca. Like, I don't want to dive.
I'm so scared.
Really? Yeah. I don't want to dive too much into the ayahuasca, right? But I would be so curious how your like experience would be.
I'm scared. Really? I want to do it so bad, but I'm so scared.
I want to go this year. I think I'm going.
I just am scared of like my reaction. Also of like my new transformation.
Really?
Yeah. I had a friend who did it and it's like it crumbles everything in your life, you know?
This is the one that you said that she used to be like materialistic and then she...
Yes. Okay. Yeah. And it's like her life went into shambles because of it. And not like in a... Well, I don't know what good or bad is, you know, for her. But not in a good or bad way. Just a bunch of evolving. And so sometimes change is scary too. Because it's like... Yeah. Well, what if I become like a hippie and I find my you know, real, what is it called? Like, life goal is to be like a naked hippie on the beach. And it's like, in my head, I want to be a great mom, wife, and all this, you know?
Right. You just don't want to, I feel like you're happy with your current lifestyle.
I don't want to change that.
Yeah.
I don't want to ruin something that's not broken.
But you know what? A lot of people have done, plant medicine, and they're still the same people with a different mindset, right? They like nothing really changed. They just received messages or things like that, right?
Yeah, maybe because I've heard like some stories where like their whole life changed, and I'm like, what? Oh my God. Yeah, not just her, just another story too. She was married, had a husband, had kids, and she said that they told her that that wasn't where she needed to be, that she needed to be elsewhere, and she became like really big on crystals and like tarot and stuff like that. And now she has like dreads, and she lives in an RV. And I'm just like, I don't know, like I've seen both sides, but then I also know people that like you and Cello is just like, you've just received messages, you come back and you do what you can with them.
Right, exactly.
So yeah, I don't know.
Julian did it too.
Yeah, I remember him telling me about that.
Yeah, Julian did it too, and he's fine. Yeah.
Also, like the process of like throwing up and all that.
Yeah. Oh, so some people do it and some people don't, right? And some people will just cry. Some people will laugh. But you have to purge one way or another.
Yeah, it just seems like the demons are coming out of you.
Yeah.
That's what, like in the videos that I see. Because I've done my research because I really want to do it. I'm so tempted. But I'm so scared too at the same time. It's like there's two sides to it,
Yeah.
And I've seen videos, and like the way they're talking and like their mouths, their face, like everything. I'm just like,
nah, but that's through ayahuasca?
Yes.
What?
Yes. Dude, I'm going to send you the videos.
Yeah, that's
And they're like they're just like rubbing their bodies and like
I'm curious to see that.
And I'm like, whoa. And then but it was like the whole thing, so it's not like it was a biased video,
right? And
then they show like the ending, and she's like me siento mejor, like I feel free.
There you go.
And I'm just like, but what the fuck was in you though?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
well, one of
what's in me? Because I used to be an angry girl.
Yeah. Well, one of the guests that came, she actually shared that, right? She said that for her, it almost did feel like an exorcism, right? Because she felt like when the shaman, it got to a point that the shaman had to go to her, and he literally had to like suck like whatever she had inside, like out, like not physically, but he would go and spit it out. He would be doing that and spit it out. And she felt like bad energy was coming out. And I guess one of the messages that she received was that it's almost like it was almost like a family curse that has been tied generation to generation. And in a sense, she's breaking that cycle for her daughters. Yeah, so you never know, but it's always been the outcome. It's always been a very positive outcome for, I think, everyone that I've heard a story from. It's been very, very positive.
Yeah, I have heard that too. Yeah. All the stories have been positive, but some have been some have been very life-changing. Yeah. So I just don't want to become a hippie living on the beach.
Yeah.
I still want to work, and I still want to like be normal in a sense.
You know what? Actually, I have a video. I'm looking at the time. I have a video reaction that kind of ties to that. So, is there anything before we react to that and all that? Is there something that you wanted to bring up? Maybe it's something that you saw through social media or something. I know at times you go into your stories and you like, I feel like something ticks you off. and you'll just be like, girl, or
I
something.
love ranting.
Yeah.
I love ranting.
I feel like
Sometimes
that's when
I
you
just
vent,
want to
right?
post those videos on TikTok though.
Oh, okay. You should.
Because
You should.
but then I'm scared because like I'm not talking about anyone.
Mm.
Like but some people get triggered.
Yeah.
Or sometimes I am talking about someone, you know?
Yeah.
Like sometimes I am, but it's not like personal. It's just my experience. So just because I had this experience with you doesn't mean I'm talking shit about you.
Okay.
Like,
for instance, what?
like for instance, I don't know, like I can't think of anything right now. So like for example, okay, my mom's family, they completely cut us off. They don't talk to us. Like unless we talk to them, they don't talk to us. None of her kids. They don't check in to see how we're good. They don't check in, nothing. It's like if my mom died, we all died with her, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I go and share my experience, oh, it'll be the end of the world. I'm talking shit about the whole family.
Yeah.
But I'm not. I'm just sharing my experience.
Yeah.
I'm telling, and maybe other things that people are going through too.
Right.
Which I think is what I posted one time. Like, just because that person dies doesn't mean their kids die, like their husband dies, their whole family dies. Like,
Yeah.
how would you feel if someone treated your kid like that after you died?
Mm.
How would you feel if your siblings ignored your child if you died? If they acted like your children don't exist?
Yeah.
Right? So I had posted that, and everybody was like, you need to make this real. Like, I totally agree with this. Like, people are fucking fake. Like, and it doesn't just apply to death. It applies to divorce. It applies to maybe moving away. Like, you know, if someone moves to a different state, it's like people act like they don't exist anymore. They don't have to be included in anything anymore. And so anyways, but I know, and I post that on my stories because I don't have them on there, but I know if I were to post them on like TikTok or Reels where it could pop up on their For You page, Jesus Christ, I'll start World War III.
But you see, it applies to a lot of people.
Yeah. See, it's not like a general, I'm not saying like, hey, so-and-so, you're a bitch.
Right,
like,
right. Yeah.
I'm just saying a general like statement.
Yeah, it's like como dicen, si te queda el saco, then so be it, right?
Yeah, and you know what my boyfriend says? He's like, they already don't talk to you.
Yeah.
So what are you scared of?
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm like, you're right. But I just don't want to, like, I don't want to be that, like, vieja venenosa, que, you know, it's just like talking shit online.
Yeah.
But I mean, I could go viral with some of these.
Yeah, like the aesthetic one. Dude, I can't believe that one took off, dude. I can't believe that one took off.
They were ripping me up in shambles.
But first of all, I didn't even know that was like a thing, right? Like when I clipped that one, I was just like, okay, I need to make a reel, and I just clipped that one.
Yeah. I
didn't know people would like, are so...
You know another one that'll get you?
What?
The like screen time for kids. The iPad kids.
Oh shit.
Ooh.
What are your thoughts with that?
They'll rip me up in that one too.
But what are your thoughts with that though?
Well, because I've had instances where I limit my kids to screen time. Okay. Because that's just the kind of mom I want to be. That doesn't mean I'm right or wrong. You know, I mean, even though the pediatrician says they should only be having an hour of screen time per day, if I want to follow that, that's up to me. If you don't and that works for you, that's up to you.
Yeah.
But I've encountered moms that are like, well, my kid watched TV all fucking day and they still learned their ABCs. They still learned all these words. And I'm like, great. Yeah. Like, that's just the quality time that you've given your child. Like, that's up to you, you know? Right. It's up to me of the quality time I want to give my kid. And if I want to spend my time with my kid practicing our ABCs with me, myself, and I, then I have that time to do so. If you don't, then you don't.
Yeah.
And it's just a big, like, dilemma where people are like, well, you could do whatever you want. I could do whatever I want. Yes, we can. And I decide to limit my child's screen time. Yeah. When we go out to eat, they don't get iPads. They eat their dinner.
Yeah.
You know? If you give your kid an iPad, that's also fine. You know? Enjoy your dinner, girl.
Yeah. I've seen that in public, and it just looks bad.
Yeah.
It looks bad. The kid walking outside of the restaurant or whatever, just stuck on their phone or their iPad. Just like, dude.
And sometimes it's like there's so many educational content out there.
Yeah.
There really is. Like sometimes, I mean, if you want to be unlimited with the screen time, there's so much educational content that you could show them, but they still just want to play like random like YouTube, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm just like, okay, well.
Yeah.
And people are always like, well, my kid learned the same thing your kid did, or like both our kids got the same grades. So what difference does it make? Or who's gonna know when they're in college, you know? And it's like, okay, that's fine, but I'm gonna know.
Right.
You know, he's gonna know that mommy sat with me at our dinner table and actually had a human conversation instead of me being stuck into
and like
iPad.
And like you said, it's the quality time.
Yeah.
Like, what memories are you gonna have? Like, oh, we went out to dinner restaurant and I was just like looking at the phone.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I don't like that. Just by the looks of it, me being a spectator from like an outside perspective, I saw that, I was like, man, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want that for my daughter.
And we do. Like, sometimes I do give them screen time. You know, if I have to make dinner, I have to, you know, do this or that. It's like 20, 30 minutes of screen time is not going to hurt them. Yeah. But it's just limiting it for me. Not where it's like, oh, just take care of yourself. Here's the TV.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, what clip are you going to show?
All right, let's do it. I'll put the clip on this one so you can check it out. And let's see. Oops. There we go. Yeah, it kind of like, I had different ones, but I feel like that one in particular kind of goes hand in hand to what we were talking about. So I just want to kind of hear your perspective.
Am I still your top liked video?
Probably, because on Instagram, not yeah, I'm pretty sure like, dude. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Is there a way to check or no?
No, I don't know.
Yeah, but I think it is. So like on Instagram, yours is the top 2.4 million. On TikTok, what is it on TikTok? Oh no, on TikTok it's 2.4 million. On Instagram, I think
it's less.
Yeah, on Instagram is less. It's like 1.1 million.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, yours have been on top. But let me check out the videos. So the reason why I'm bringing this one up is because you were kind of saying, oh, I don't want to be a hippie. I don't want to like change my lifestyle, right? And I had different ones, but then when you were saying that, I feel like this one kind of ties into that. So I'll play it, and if you want me to stop the video at one point, just let me know. But if not, we can let it play and we can give our
El video viral de la semana. The viral video of the week en Hoy No Más Podcast.
Here, let me play again.
I'm homeless by choice.
A lot of people always say that. What do you mean by choice? You want to live out here on the streets?
I do. I love it.
What's so cool about being homeless? A lot of people would say that there's only negatives, right?
Right. But no, I'm free. I am free.
From what? The cops, the government, anything?
Tomorrow, I don't know where I'll be. I don't have to go to work. I don't have to go here. I don't have to go there. I don't have to go anywhere. I left my life after 25 years.
Why'd you leave her?
I had to live my life on my own terms. I'm homeless by choice.
A lot of people.
So what are your thoughts with that?
You know, I think it's dumb. Yeah, by choice, but I mean, if you want to live out in the streets and not have a warm bed to come home to, you know?
Yeah.
So it's just like picking your battles, I guess. I don't know.
Because you've never ran into your own. The reason why I bring this up as well is, right, so you never thought about like, fuck, like I'm tired of working. I'm tired of this, like waking up, going to work, coming home, you know, doing the same routine over and over. Like you've never fantasized of like, what would happen if maybe not necessarily being homeless, but maybe, you know, going into the van life and just giving up your current lifestyle and just starting fresh. Right.
Well, I do think of that, but I think about it in a sense where what if we just get rid of everything and move to Mexico in un ranchito and raise our kids and have our chickens and our eggs and our,
Right.
the ranch life. But it's just like pros and cons. Like, what are you leaving? What are you taking?
Yeah.
So yeah, you'll have a peace of mind, but eventually my kids are going to have to go to school. So it's like, where am I going to put them in school? What kind of schooling can I offer them? Where I'm going to be living? Like stuff like that,
So you think about that. If you were to go to Mexico, you feel
Right.
like the school system here in the U.S. is better?
Not necessarily, just like in general, because I think like that now, because my kids are not in school. They're not, of age to
Right.
be in school. So I think it's a little bit easier. Or if I didn't have kids, or if they were 18 doing their own life, then I think that decision would be easier, because it would just be me and my husband, and we could make that decision for ourselves.
Right.
But when I'm thinking of the decision I'm making for my kids, the quality of life, the schooling, the everything, I start thinking about them, and I'm like, well. But then it's like the quality of life here, working, like you said, every day, being stressed, paying the bills, like,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think there's just pros and cons to everything. But the video is a little extreme. It's like, well, you're living in the streets. I don't think that's anything pro about that.
Yeah. And a different perspective that I've thought about it, and maybe, I don't know if it's a man thing, right? Because maybe as a man, at least it's came into my mind, like, man, at times just like, golly, like, are we just meant to be working every freaking day? Like he said, he's free, like he don't have to go to work. Maybe he was a working man, and because I've heard of something similar that happened to somebody's like uncle. Like he had a family, he had a whole like career, whatnot, and he did something very similar to that he just rather became homeless. Not necessarily that he's out and doing drugs, but he just gave everything up, and just he didn't want to be part of the system anymore. He just one day he's waking up at the beach, next day he's who knows anywhere, just walking or traveling, doing his own thing without having to fall into the society or system that's been set up for us.
Right.
Yeah. I fantasized about things like that, but then at the same time, I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna have to shave. Oh shit. I'm gonna have to not. I guess I require a lot of maintenance, like freaking shaving. Like fuck, I'm not gonna be able to do that. So that keeps me having to work.
Like your hygiene.
Yeah.
There's just so much to think for, and I think a big part of it is that we don't realize how much we're grateful for the life we have. Like, yeah, it sucks that we have to bust our ass every day to live in this beautiful home. But if we start looking at it as we have this beautiful home to live in, and we have a roof over our heads, and, you're blessed to be able to give your daughter like her own room. There's people that have to share rooms with their kids, or don't even have a room to share. They don't even have a crib for their kid. They don't have like so many things. It's like, well, then you look at it's like changing your perspective, because at the end of the day, like, this is the life we have. This is the life we have to live because of society, because of the government, whatever you want to blame. But this is America. Like, this is where we live. Yeah. So I like to think like we're working with the best that we can, which is you work 40 hours. We have a roof over our head. We have food. We have, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And you're right. I mean, to a certain point, once, like, it's good to fantasize that, not necessarily being homeless, because you can be quote unquote homeless, but living in a van, right?
Yeah.
And just be traveling and just being free in that sense. And not necessarily having an address that's tying you down to a specific location. And I've thought about that, like, man, that's living free, just not having to, have a routine necessarily, just, exploring life. But then at the same time, I do think about it, like what you said, right?
Yeah.
So many people out there would pray and hope for just our current lifestyle right now, even though it's not like nothing rich or anything like that, wealth or anything. But for a lot of people, they would love to be in our shoes right now.
Right.
So when I think about that too, and I also the same perspective, I've told Chelo that too. When I was a baby, when I was a kid, I didn't have what we currently have right now.
Right.
So it gets me happy that I'm able to provide that for my daughter as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, it's a bunch of different point of views to it, but I do think if you would have asked me 2 years ago before I became a mom, if I would have done it, I would have said yeah. Mm-hmm. Because I like to think like before you become a parent, you're free. You really don't have, like we were talking about like death earlier, you don't have anything that ties to you. Yeah. Like your parents can live without you, your siblings can live without you, your family members can live without you. So you're free. Like you're free to go, you're free to do any decision that you make is only going to affect you. Yeah. And so who cares, you know? If I die, I die. Yeah. If I don't make it, I don't make it. We'll start over. But once you have kids, you're not able to take those risks. You're not able to make those irresponsible decisions, you know? Yeah. Not necessarily irresponsible, but just a little more on edge, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And going back to the whole Mexico thing, we've also thought about that too.
I know, I dream of that lifestyle.
But you know what? I think something that ties us down is the old perspective that the U.S. is the best to live in. But I've seen a lot of different people that are moving back to Mexico. And even honestly, the school system here is nothing really to brag about. At all. So I don't know. It's something that I've thought about as well, but it's just that old mindset of like, oh no, like how are we going to take him away from like growing up in yeah. But a lot of the times like the food is probably better out there. The lifestyle is better, less stress. I don't know. I've thought about that as well.
Yeah, I've thought about that too, because I too know people that have moved over there and they live, like you said, such a comfortable, peaceful life, and you're just like, damn, like, you know, what is it about living here? And I just think it's the stress of having to keep up with everything, you know? It's stressful, it's a lot, but I don't know. There's a bunch of pros and cons to it. Yeah.
Well, Betty, I think we're about an hour in. An hour, like 30 minutes. An hour, 17 minutes. Any final words that you have?
No, just thanks for having me back.
Yeah. Thank you for coming. I think it's been like over a month or 2 months probably.
I know. It was a long time.
Yeah.
I had a lot going on.
Yeah. Everything's good though?
Yeah. Everything's great.
What emoji are we going to give for people to put?
Let's do the emoji with the stars eyes.
Oh, okay. With the stars? Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. So emoji with the stars. Mm-hmm. I was gonna say grave, like a gravestone, but that's too much because we were talking about the
we talked a lot about death.
Yeah. Or praying hands too.
Yeah. The praying hands.
The emoji, because I don't know if people have that emoji with the stars. Do you think it's everywhere?
The star eyes?
Yeah, the star eyes.
I don't know. Well, what if you're Android?
Yeah, well, I think I have it. But if you don't have it, if you don't have the star eye emoji, drop the praying hands. Yeah. Let us know that you guys got to this point of the podcast. Once again, my name is Angel Houseman.
It's Bernice.
Yeah. All right. Like I always like to say, it's a greater risk not taking a risk. Till next time.
Bye.
Hoy no más.